I thought I'd make a quick video about a meditation that I've been performing for at least a decade now, and only within the last 2 or 3 years have I been using it on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day. And although it sounds quite unorthodox, it has been single-handedly one of the most important meditations that I do on a daily basis. And that practice is Memento Mori, or when translated from Latin, means remember you must die. So with no explanation on the face of it, it sounds quite daunting. It sounds almost pessimistic, but it really has changed the way I live my life, the way I have reframed life, the way in which I treat people, and the way I treat myself also. So I won't go into too much detail as to how I do the practice. Sometimes it's as simple as just repeating the mantra, remember you must die, remember you must die. And it's not to be mistaken as a simple tool you can use and suddenly all your problems that you have in life are solved. It's nothing like that. What it does, it makes you become very present and very aware as to what we have now, because this life that we have is finite. And maybe it's because by modern standards, through modern technology and science and medication, sometimes we have this feeling that we're just going to live forever. Or maybe the pain of thinking about our demise, both ourselves and our loved ones, is too much to bear. And what this meditation doesn't do, it doesn't necessarily bring people back to life. But as I said, it allows you to focus on what we have. So I thought I'd mention a few things that it's had an impact on for me. Although there were plenty more, but I could make a video going on for hours and hours. So the first thing that it's done for me, which had a positive impact, is that the problems that I have in life, I'm able to deal with them in a much clearer sort of way. And don't get me wrong, I have problems like anyone else. And at the time when these problems arise, sometimes they catch me off guard. But what Memento Mori, or Remember You Must Die, does for me, it allows me to reflect on these problems, and I think about my finite time that I've got here, and I think about how I intend on spending that time. Some of these problems are trivial, some of them are big. The trivial stuff can catch you off guard, because trivial stuff can compound over a day. Let's say you have 5 things that happen which set you off, and as a result you've now had a bad day or a bad week, and sometimes these things you just can't get rid of. What Memento Mori does for me on reflection, usually at the end of a day or at the beginning of a day when I'm doing this practice, I reflect on the day or week or month that I've had, and upon thinking about my own death, I think, is it even worth, is giving my energy to this thing even worth it? And in most instances it's not. There are times when these trivial things just latch themselves to us. We could be in a debate or an argument, and you run it play by play back to yourself. Next time I'm going to say this, or I should have said this, and why did they say this? And on reflection, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Like a lot of the Stoic practices, it makes you understand that all we have is now, all we can control is now, and to focus on the now. I will say that when these problems arise, it's not a case that if I use the example of you hold the door open for someone and they don't say thank you, you don't suddenly just start muttering, remember you will die, remember you will die. That's not how it works. But on reflection, again, these trivial things and sometimes even the big things just seem to be diminished. The second thing it helps me to do is to improve my relationships with other people. Unfortunately, in my lifetime, I've lost count of the amount of people who are no longer with us. And not only people who are no longer with us, but people who I never would have imagined that they'd be gone at the time that they went. They wasn't ill. They wasn't old. They wasn't sad. They just wasn't there in the morning. And there's something that happens almost every single time this happens. I think about our last communication. I think about, did I tell them that I loved them? Did I tell them that I was proud of them? Were they proud of themselves? Did they know that everyone was proud of them? And there's always that thing of, I would do anything in order to have a final conversation with them. But you obviously can't. So the act of Memento Mori, again, doesn't bring back this person. But what it allows you to think is, all I have is now. The people who I've got in my life, they're destined to go. I'm destined to go. So if there's anything that needs saying, let's say it now. If I can't remember the last time I said I love you to someone, tell them now. If there's someone who I can't remember the last time I told them that I was proud, or maybe I've never told them that I was proud of them, why not do it now? The person who I've had a little falling out with, do I really want to live with that grudge and resentment? Probably not. In fact, probably not, definitely not. So again, it doesn't bring people back, but it massively has improved my relationships in the now, because the past is useful. We can't deny the past is very useful. The things that have happened to us, the things that have been said to us, the things that we've said to other people, all have structured who we are now. But the past is gone. And the future, as much as we like to believe the future is going to happen, the future is not guaranteed. And I know that very well, because the same people who, when I woke up in the morning, they weren't here, I thought the future included them. So this side of Memento Mori is a little bit harder to deal with. And sometimes it's easier, and I use easier very loosely. Sometimes it's easier to imagine the death of particular people. And I'm not talking about people who you wish to die, but if I use the example of a great grandpa or a granddad, a father, a mother, an auntie, someone who unfortunately is terminally ill, sometimes, as hard as it is, you understand that this person is going to go. It may be easier, again, loosely using easier, to say, I'm not going to make any future plans with this person because tomorrow is not guaranteed. And the much harder practice is the people who aren't supposed to go. And no one is truly, we don't wish upon anyone to leave. Almost all deaths are untimely, but when it comes to the younger people, the siblings, the children, the grandchildren, that's a much harder pill to swallow. And that was a lot harder for me. And maybe the reason why I've doubled down on this practice upon having children. Now, this is a practice, and I say this in previous videos. Sometimes practices are hard. This isn't a practice which isn't something that's easy or comes to you in any easy way. It is very, very difficult. And it's something I think about. I think about it with the close people around me, both young and old. But what it does for me, it really, really makes the time spent with those people ever more present. With my children, I hold their hands way tighter. And there are little micro deaths, I'll call them. That's a phrase I've made myself. But these micro deaths, especially when it comes to children, if you've had children or you have children, you will understand that there are certain things, certain traits, certain little quirks that they had, and they're going to disappear from when they're born. They see you as your number one caregiver, and the elation they have in the face, and it's like they've reached nirvana just looking at you. And at some point in life, that'll be gone. Sometimes they don't even want to look at you. Sometimes you cannot enter their bedroom. The idea of holding their hand is, they don't want to do that anymore. So what I do, I focus on these micro deaths as much as I do about death in general, because I know all these micro deaths are coming, and with the age of my children, these micro deaths are coming thick and fast. As a parent, you want to help them, and then suddenly they turn around and say, "Daddy, I don't need that help anymore. I don't want your help," which is a beautiful paradox, because in one sense, you've lost this ability to help them, and in the same sense, they're gaining their own independence, which is wonderful. So, yeah, that's the second thing that it's massively helped me with, is to just be present and understand that our days are finite. And in a world which is more divided, or at least it seems it's more divided than ever, and everyone has this very individualistic role in life, we all have this commonality amongst us, is that we're all going to return to earth in one way, shape or form. And the third thing is that, again, our days are finite, and time is not really on our side. And with that being said, all we have is now. Again, that same saying could apply to all the things that I've mentioned previously. But if I use my van, for example, and this is a very trivial example because the van isn't anything big or special, it's a tool. That's all it is to me. It's not a personality, it's not anything, it's just somewhere where I sleep in sometimes and use to camp. But I had the idea of getting a van 10 years ago. And what I did is I said to myself, when the stars align, that's when I will start van life. And the stars didn't align. And the position I was waiting for myself to be in didn't happen. And I suppose there's a bit of circumstance and just the drive to do it led me to do it. And the practice of Memento Mori allows me to realize that our time is finite. So if you want something doing, you do it now, because tomorrow never comes. Again, speaking of the people who I've lost and people who we've lost, I'm sure we all had big dreams and aspirations which we thought we could get to. And it's not guaranteed. The future doesn't exist. So do what you need to do. And sometimes that comes in the form of adding things to your life. Sometimes you might want something, so you want to add something to your life. Sometimes it's getting rid of something in your life. There are plenty of people, myself included, who have stuck around in a certain circumstance and just gone with emotion because the idea of doing something may seem harder than the actual task itself. Sometimes that's staying in a toxic workplace or in a toxic friendship or relationship with a friend, with a partner, with a family member. All we've got is now. So just act upon that. And hopefully, after explaining that, it's still, well, it doesn't sound still pessimistic, because it really isn't. It really isn't. Death is hard. And I think that's the reason why we don't really think about it. That's the reason why we only really react to it either when it happens, when someone dies, or when we know someone is potentially going to leave us. There's so many people, including myself, when someone dies, it's only then that we realise that all we've got is now. But it shouldn't take that. It shouldn't really take someone to go or the loss of something to realise that all we have is now. And life is for living and not just existing. So, again, hopefully there's some wisdom in that, because for me it's been life-changing for me. And yeah. Thank you very much for listening. Peace.